Homegrown consumer-focused VC firm Fireside Ventures has announced the final close of its fourth fund with a corpus of 2,265 crore rupees, or about $253 million, which was raised through its GIFT City Feeder Fund and India Master Fund. Now, Fireside Venture Fund 4 has secured commitments from a diversified base of Indian and global investors. Since its inception in 2017, Fireside has been the first institutional investor in more than 74% of its portfolio companies and now backs more than 60 consumer brands. Now, with this fund, its total assets under management to date stand at around 5,300 crore rupees. But for more on the investment strategy for this fourth fund and more, joining me now is Adarsh Menon, the partner at Fireside Ventures. Adarsh, welcome to Startup Street. Thanks for your time here. This fourth fund at $253 million, I believe, is your largest fund yet, and you've raised this from both global and domestic investors. How hard or how easy has it been to raise this kind of money, and what's the sense you've got from investors, especially globally, about the confidence they have in India's consumer story?
The story is very strong, Ritu, and that has helped in us actually raising this fund in pretty quick time. But it's also validation of a couple of things other than just the fundraise, right? The first thing is the vision with which Fireside was started 8 years ago, which is to build a portfolio of iconic brands and, importantly, an institution that is designed to make that success repeatable. That has gotten demonstrated in the track record of the fund so far, the 8 years that we've been in business. So I think that has clearly helped in generating a lot of investor interest, both from India as well as abroad. And the second thing, and you allude to it, is the India consumption opportunity is really, really large and exciting. We are very confident that over the next few years, India will become a $4 trillion consumption economy, right? That makes India the single largest, fastest growing consumer market. And that, again, obviously generates a fair amount of investor interest, and everybody wants to be part of the action.
Well, Adarsh, if you really talk about the investment thesis for this fund, where are you going to bet the money within the consumer segment, of course, which is what Fireside does? What will be the focus categories?
So we continue to be a consumer-focused fund, Ritu, because we believe that the consumer opportunity in India itself is just about, we're just about scratching the surface, right? So, you've tracked the fund for over the last 8 years. When we started, we were largely, doing India 1. Then after that, just as part of regular migration, we went to India 2. In Fund 3, we've done a few investments, which are both India 1, 2, and 3. In Fund 1, most of our portfolio were largely what were called D2C brands. Fund 2, we started investing in companies that also have an e-commerce business, that also have retail. Fund 3, actually, we've seen businesses who've also gotten built out in a very big way on quick commerce. What's also happened is over the period of the lifetime of the fund, the sectors that we've invested in, while they've all been consumer, the sector has now expanded from just pure FMCG to also vertical commerce, lifestyle, food and beverages, home, fashion. I think consumer in general is a very, very exciting space for us. And we see ourselves doubling down more and more in the consumer space itself across categories. All
right, got that. But what's in the pipeline in terms of investment? Have you already lined up some companies? And how soon before you start deploying the money? And also, what kind of returns are to be expected from this fourth fund?
So it's an ongoing process, right? The good thing is we are seeing a lot of very high quality entrepreneurs embrace entrepreneurship. A lot of them have very good pedigree from great quality institutions, great work experience, so they're very savvy in how to build businesses, attract large teams, run companies very well. So we are seeing high quality entrepreneurs. So the deal flow process, as it's called, is ongoing. Right, so that those thesis areas and those areas of opportunity and that pipeline is something that is ongoing now for quite some time. See, in terms of returns, if you look at our track record, Fund 1 has now been, Fund 1 is a 2018 fund, so we are now in the 7th, 8th year. We've already returned more than 3.5x of capital of Fund 1.
Fireside has been an early investor in companies like Mamaearth, Boat and whatnot. But with consumer behavior shifting so quickly now, where do you others see the next breakout categories emerging in 2026 and beyond?
So several consumer spaces, Ritu, we believe will become very, very large in terms of where they are today and where they can go to. We think the entire health and wellness space, where consumers are getting increasingly more conscious about health, wanting to take their health in their own hands, looking at health and wellness as a continuum as compared to just eating healthy, but also devices, also services. We think that space is going to become really, really large.
Well, Adarsh, even as you say, you're just scratching the surface. Your AUM is now about 5,300 crore rupees. How do you see this growing over the next few years? And how does Fireside avoid this classic VC challenge, that is more capital chasing limited high-quality consumer companies or opportunities?
Yeah, if I look at our pipeline today, it is certainly not limited. Like, see, the 3-4 things which I think are coming together wonderfully well for the ecosystem. Of course, there is consumer demand and there is consumer traction. And the fact that while the numbers are very exciting in the sense, $4 trillion of consumption in the next 4-5 years, that's a very big number in itself. But to me, what is personally even more exciting is that the shape of this 4 trillion will be very different from what it is today, which means there will be a lot more Gen Z consumers, which means there will be a lot more senior consumers, which means there'll be a lot more Bharat consumers, which means there'll be a lot more online consumers. So the shape of that consumer will start looking very different. I think that makes it so exciting, which then translates into so many more opportunities for brands to get built. The second thing is, I mentioned it earlier, high quality entrepreneurs, choosing to embrace the startup journey and become entrepreneurs. And then, when we jam with them, the quality of that conversation is just so rich. Third, of course, now to build a brand digitally is so much easier than what it used to be earlier, right? Thanks to Meta, thanks to quick commerce, thanks to e-commerce, thanks to Google. I think all of that ecosystem is coming together really, really well. If you just now combine all of this put together, I would say it's still very much scratching the surface, and there's just a lot of opportunity, in the coming years, and I would say decades for Indian consumer as an overall business.
All right, Adarsh, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time here on Startup Street today. Thank you.
Well, moving on.